Doc Neeson of the Angels on Night Attack. There are 9 new raunchy rock and roll songs on the album, starting off with Long Night, which I think highlights new drummer Brent Eccles' powerful percussion.
Sleazy is how I feel about this track. It's was written on a bus trip, a 3-day non-stop bus trip from the Boulder in the Colorado mountains right up to Vancouver in Canada, and it was just like an endless night. We didn't get off the bus. It was about an 1,800-mile trip, and by the time we finished that run, we really needed a doctor.
Doc, Long Night was written in the United States, but the next track, Running Wild, is all Australian influenced.
Yeah, that one was one that we wrote after we got back from the tour. It's more or less along the same kind of lines as Puberty Blues, a film that's come out in Sydney right now. And John and Rick got the first sort of flash of that, and then Rick and I worked on the lyrics a bit. Quite a lot of it really comes from bits of conversation we overheard from fans. It's sort of putting the tape recorder there while they talk and then singing it back to them.
Doc, Running Wild is one of the rockier numbers that's in your live stage show.
Yeah, that one's a real cooker for us. We usually throw that in when it's we're just starting to build the set up, and it's, you know, people are really starting to get off on it. I'd say that with the guitar style, it's one of the songs that would be called a typical Angel song. Fits in, for me, along the same sort of lines as Shadow Boxer, songs like that.
It's already a fan's favourite.
Yeah, they really got the chorus down and everything now.
Night Attack is the band's 5th album, which ran hot on the heels of the live EP. In fact, this next track is on both the Never So Live EP and the album Night Attack.
Fashion and Fame, for me, I think is the best, my best choice on the album. I like the dynamics of it. We recorded both versions as part of the live one was recorded as part of the selecting of songs for the album. We did 4 dates around Sydney, and the atmosphere that came up on the live is very interesting to compare with the sort of studio colouring that we got in on the studio colouring, such as there's a bit of ground piano in there and acoustic guitar, and I always find it really interesting to listen to a band that's done, you know, a live song and a studio song, and I think the way both of them have come up stands up, you know, on their own, both the studio and the live one, but for, my choice is the studio.
This track, City Out of Control, can give us a story out of your doc that takes us back to when you had your gear ripped off in Chicago and Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick came to the rescue.
Oh yeah, he certainly did. In fact, he really saved the day for us. We had everything gone, no guitars even, and Rick Nielsen drove in about 90 miles with some guitars. He'd heard on a news item in Chicago that we'd had everything stolen, the whole truck. Later they found the truck under 15 feet of Lake Michigan, but out of that, the guitars he loaned the band were ones that are made around Chicago. They're called Hamer guitars, and Rick later met the guitar maker, Paul Hamer, who built him this quite unique guitar, which has a special tremolo system in it. Now, the way it works is that the strings are actually bolted down at the neck and down at the bridge so that their length is fixed. Usually on a tremolo arm, if you loosen off the string, it slackens back towards the tuning keys. Well, in this case, the strings are actually held, so when you loosen off the string with the tremolo bar, this time the strings just fall right off the face of the guitar, and you just get this amazing sonic boom that's at the front of City Out of Control. It just gets me every time I hear that. On stage, of course, he's got about twice as long to play with it, so it just goes berserk. It's great.
City Out of Control, it conjures up a lot in the mind. What was it written about?
Well, around the time we were writing it, they had all the riots in London and in Liverpool, right through England, and, you know, they were spreading to there was, you know, picking up riots in Miami for a while, and even up here in Sydney and Mount Druitt, they had a really bad turnout there. So there just seemed to be a lot of this aggression going on, and it just seemed to fit in with that feel that we had, and with Rick's guitar. The song grew very naturally. It's very, I think it's one of those really exciting stage songs because it's so slow and pulsing.
Have you got a word to describe the opening?
Cacophonous. Sounds like 10 car accidents happening at once.
Night Attack is the title of the album. It's also the title of this next track, which is credited to Neeson Eccles. And not only did you have to rehearse the album, but Eccles, the new drummer, you had to rehearse him too.
Well, yeah, we didn't have too much rehearsing of Brent as such, but actually the earliest part of that was we actually auditioned 30 drummers before we finally came down to the short list. But very happy that Brent got in on this thing. And actually, commenting on the songwriting credits there with Brent involved in writing this song. This album was a different one for us, and you'll see later on that Chris Bailey was also involved in the songwriting. What's happened with us in the past is somebody has got the key idea of a song, and by the time they come into the band, they've usually written about 50 to maybe even 80% of the song. Now, with Brent coming in, we thought the whole thing should, we needed to get it cohesive. There's a lot of chemistry involved, as Mondo Rock have pointed out already, in getting a bunch of guys playing together. So we rehearsed the album right from scratch. As soon as somebody had an idea for a song, we were all working on it. And Rick actually came in with this idea for a song which he was. There were about 140 night attacks in the first verse. But the way it finally worked out was that there was a lot of things going on around Sydney with people getting jumped, and there's the Hyde Park there just in the centre of town, and the mood in the middle of this song just reminds me of going through Hyde Park at about 2 o'clock in the morning, because you're never quite sure if you'll come out the other end of it.
Mm. There's some lines in there. I'm only just past the factory, got to get through the trees, night opens up on me. That's rather scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's the great thing about writing this song was how sinister it could get. When we first tried it, it was ultra slow and just sort of clumped along. I was going to say thumped along, but it was just like Jack the Ripper, just sort of sneaking along, because that whole area is a red light area anyway, up near King's Cross, and there's probably lots going on that you never. There's always just that edge when you go out around that part of Sydney, sort of the hair on the back of your neck starts to rise, and the full moon comes up, and the wolves begin to howl.
Nothing to win. Doc, on this particular track I found two characteristics. It's always been with the Angels, that very heavy percussive thud sound of the drums.
Yeah.
And the blues harp that's been with you since the very start of the band.
Yeah, well, the first time that we got into the blues harp thing was with Live It Up, which used to be like a Bo Diddley kind of feel, and that's John sort of wailing out on that. And then we still used it in Devil's Gate from the Darkroom album. This song was a great chance to put that in, and the other side of it that really backs that up was, as you mentioned, the percussion. Brent used to be with a band called Citizen Band, and his whole drumming style is very solid and yet open, and that really suits this kind of song. And we got a producer in from America called Ed Thacker, who we first came in contact with through the the Marianne Faithfull album, Broken English, and just the big percussive sounds on that. You know, I guess that really got us excited. But the worry was well, okay, is this guy going to come over and try and change the band to what he thinks is going to be a good sound? So that was a very sensitive area. But the fact was that he'd already heard the band, and he'd already heard Devil's Gate, in fact. So when he came over, he was insisting that we get this harmonica onto the album.
Mm. You could have lost the whole sound of the Angels with the choice of a wrong producer.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem I think you always have when you're going outside the band, and the band really knows what it wants to sound like. So what we looked for when we were going for somebody to work with us this time was somebody who we thought would get the best sounds of the band. We knew how we wanted to play, how the song should sound. We just had to have somebody who was with the band and was going to bring out the best in that. And he spent ages when Ed Thacker, spent ages with Brent when they first went in there. It was like 2 days just tuning the drums. He was so meticulous getting the right sound. I mean, you'd watch him in there and he'd start listening to a track and his eyes would kind of glaze over, and he sort of would just concentrate very intently on what was going on. And it was that sort of attention to sounds, I think, that's given this album probably the biggest sound that we've had yet on a recorded album.
Living on the Outside, this is Rick's song. I believe it's been around in the band for a little while and it's been through many changes.
Yeah, tenacity is probably the one word that sums up why this song is here on the album. Rick's had an idea to use this song in, I think, going back to No Exit, and he's tried versions, variations, verses on everything we've done so far, including just demo sessions. It really was a matter of just getting the right feel for it, and I think Brent helped a lot there. And it goes back to our first, an early comment I made about having the whole band rehearse the songs from scratch, and we took this song right back to its basics and built it up. And now I think the way it's come up is it's probably one of the most melodic songs on the album. I mean, it's great to sing.
Doc, Talk About You has 13 lines in the song. It's basic, but it's probably the way the album is, the way it started out to be.
Yeah, I have to agree, and I'm very pleased it's turned out that way. The whole idea of the production was to get back to a very solid, simple rock and roll album. Ed Thacker was involved in helping get that very simple but big sound, and the whole way the album's been arranged has rather, instead of overdoing it with lyrics or overdoing it with keyboards or anything like that, was just keep it really as simple as we do it on stage. And these songs have transferred very well across to what we're doing on stage at the moment. We're performing all the album tracks on stage, and with this song in particular, it was very easy because the whole song is about gossip, and the way it was about we saw a bunch of girls once, and one of them, they were all very friendly. One of them left the room, and suddenly they were just tearing that girl apart. It was just amazing. I mean, we just imagined how would she feel if she came back in, and the whole thing was so empty. It was just a case of blah, 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 yak, yak, yak.
Storm the Bastille is the last track. Doc, is it fair to say it captures energy, power, chaos, and the dreaded guillotine? You agree? Could you even associate it maybe with City Out of Control on this album? And in fact, even go back further to Face in Marseille?
Oh, well, actually, the Marseille thing you just picked up on there, it's really interesting because the whole idea of where the Bastille song came from was when we were touring France, and we played in the Paris Hippodrome. And during the Marseille song, in fact, I usually get up and do a little French piece, and I actually shouted out in French, "Storm the Bastille," and the response from the audience was just so over the top. I mean, it was just like a French way of saying over the top, that we just got a whole idea for a song out of that. And although it's based around the idea of the French Revolution, Chris got involved in this song in the songwriting stage. So really everybody in the band has been in on the songwriting, and he had, you know, part of the original riff for this. But when, you know, because it was like a historical piece, we just weren't sure about putting it in. But Ed Thacker, when he came down, just thought it was such a strong, you know, powerful angel song that he just insisted that it get put on the album. And it just, now when I listen to that drum riff on the end, it just has that sinister, like, Tale of Two Cities kind of thing, with Madame Defarge there, and she's going, you know, with her French red, white and blue cap, and she's going knit one, purl one, guillotine one, knit one, purl one, shoo, knit one, purl one, guillotine one, shoo.